Welcome to another League Night. I'm Christopher. This is Roy.
Hey.
And we're going to be talking about DLC Indy. And also, what are you going to buy for your next DLC? Singles or packs? So, for those who are not aware, we had a big event occur. Disney Lorcana Championships in Indianapolis. This was, on theme for last week. A big tournament that will determine who will get to go to the championships at the very end, and hopefully Worlds. So we have a bit to talk about this. This was an Infinity format match, and there was expected amount of dogs there. So Emerald and Amber showing up in bulk, but that was not the winner. The winner was the people targeting dogs with good old red blue, something that has been the top performing deck in Infinity and pre-rotation, just in general, for the longest time. And this is after they banned probably one of the most important cards for that deck, which was Hiram. Have you seen the winning list yet, Roy?
Yes, I've actually pictured through it though. Honestly, I'm gonna say this is a hot take of mine though. I believe this is the combo deck of the format. Like literally. The way it plays, the way it feels, and I tried a couple matches with it, and hands down it's gotta be the most consistent deck out there because if I remember anything about gameplay whatsoever though, I personally don't like combo decks. I think it's kinda like solitaire. You're basically drawing cards until you find the right one. So it's kinda like it feels like you're cramming for like an exam, and then basically you get like, I got it right here, and that's it. To me, that's not a competitive game, but I guess the field of dogs and especially other decks are in the matchup, though, I believe it is one of those necessary evils that needs to leave through. So.
What is the combo that you personally see run for this? Because I've actually seen a couple of different lists, and my personal take is the combo element, the combo version, which I see win the most is with Tamatoa coin, lucky coin, where you get to basically do a big burst of quest for was it 12 at the end of the game.
Yes.
What combo do you see? But this list didn't have it, actually. It did not run the coin. So what other combos do you see with red blue?
Red blue also could be played as basically drop the big baddie on the floor as well too. I've seen a couple of variants where it's like they'll find a situation where they drop the Leviathan and clear your opponent's board of 3 creatures and then basically take over the game that way. So the siege, basically I call it like the battleship deck. You just build up, and then until you can launch your final attack and then just clear out everything and then basically destroy everything. Including your...
I think the combination of Liquidator locks down the early game.
Yeah.
I mean, that 4-2 trades, even if you play it on turn 2.
Oh, yeah.
I would actually hold Visions and Tipo from, or even Sail for a turn just to get that down against any aggro deck because there's not a lot of 2-attack cards. And even though if it trades with a 2-attack card, it's done its job. It's slowing your opponent down and you're losing that early character just is going to slow your tramp down. And you have to speed up because Spooky Sight's just around the corner. And then if you don't even if you deal with the Spooky Sight, you got to deal with it, be prepared. And not many people are prepared for be prepared, especially in Infinity.
Yeah, to be perfectly honest, the first place list I was looking at, it was very interesting because it only ran one copy of Spooky Sight though. Traditionally in control decks, if you're running Spooky Sight or anything that gets rid of 3 or less, whether it be power, casting cost or whatever for that matter, the minimum that you should run is 2 though. But I think this guy was banking on the fact that he could actually draw any card of it in his library and just basically find the answer that he needs to find at the time. And at the very worst...
I mean, that's a...
Oh, what was it?
Oh, that's a classic of Popsicle, just being able to cycle through your deck so quickly. And with the Tamatoa, you'll have so many opportunities to return that Popsicle and just flood the field to actually increase your hand size, never losing resources by dropping things down.
But the sheer fact that you can play Maleficent is probably...
Maleficent.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite cards in the format.
Yeah. It is a really powerful ability just to, you play a 7-5, that quest for 2, and when you do, you may choose and banish a character. I mean, alone, even though it's 9 cost, I think that it's good enough to say your opponent will have to banish a character, which with all of your other tools like the small Sisu and stuff like that to remove small things and spooky sight, and then follow up with Maleficent afterwards, where they have to choose that something medium sized to banish. That's a incredibly powerful. And I can't forget about the big Sisu, a big AOE. You put her down, and it banishes all opposing characters that has 2 or less attack.
Yeah, it's a clincher.
Something that they don't have anymore in this deck is things to reduce someone's attack, because that used to be a big issue. Is characters would usually have 3 or 4 attack. Now with all the dogs, baseline they're 1, 2, 0 attack characters. So you can tell that this deck was really, really targeting removing that particular matchup.
And I think the reason why this deck was built this way is because the guy basically trusted the bones of his deck. Yeah, the only reason why you would run 2 or 3 copies of a spell is that you want to increase your chance of casting that spell, which is basically thinking ahead as far as what you're going to face in the meta. Infinity is a very interesting format, definitely in this time in this game's history, or very short history. It reminds me of the first time that we actually got different formats in the game of Magic. There was a format for the longest time that it was switched in between. They called it standard, and they had it rotating. But then as the sets grew in size and the catalog got bigger, they had to introduce more formats into it, though, in order to kind of half maintain the collector's value, and the other half is to basically maintain the amount of players that are still playing in that specific timeline.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people be frustrated if half their deck drops off, and I was like, well, I've collected all these cards, I can't play with them. Well, you can play Infinity, and you can still have fun. I will say that currently Infinity, I see a lot of set 1, 2, and 3, which are some of the hardest cards for anyone to get. So I think reprinting cards are going to be very, very, very important in order to see not just, the game continue, but actually Infinity to continue. Because if they don't reprint Maui, Hero to All, Be Prepared, it's so difficult for a lot of players who'd be like, oh, I'm interested in this format, to be able to get those cards. And we'll talk more about singles versus packs at the end of this show, but I think it's something that when talking about it, for people to go, okay, well, how do we want to increase the Infinity format? How do we want to get more people to be able to play? To be aware of that. Now, something else that occurred at Indianapolis is a core constructed tournament DLC, which had a pretty obvious winner, and we can talk a lot about the problems with the fact that this is a going to be a issue for the next month until rotation happens. Actually, 2 weeks, 3 weeks rotation will happen, where we're definitely seeing dogs are super, 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 super strong. Now, they're about to rotate out in a couple of weeks, but what I saw that really pushed dogs over the edge, that made them the scariest thing, was Eleanor. At the end of your turn, if you have 3 or more exerted characters in play, deal 1 damage to chosen opposing character, gain a lore, draw a card. For 4. I mean, it's uninkable, sure, but she, you flood the board. You don't need a lot in order to, you get some Lilos out, and Lilos will constantly be your Eleanor trigger, and it'll just become like a huge problem of like, oh yeah, no, remove my Lilos every turn. I'll bring them back and just keep triggering, getting lore and drawing cards. So, and dealing damage at the same time while you take damage from Lilos. And then if you don't deal with them, well, Tramp's going to come down, cycle, large amounts of your hand and determine, get you those perfect cards you need to win. It is a problematic deck and a half.
Yeah, I agree. Looking at this card, though, I don't see any weaknesses. Like, the only downside is the fact that it's not inkable, but that's not really a weakness, though, if you get a card that does this so much.
And
every turn.
You don't need many inkable cards. Yeah, every turn.
Every turn. So you're basically wearing them down.
Yep. the big synergy that I knew was going to happen, and I'm not surprised, but I'm surprised not other people talked about it as well. Dale Tramp, Dale making that Tramp a 6/6, because that's always been a big problem of the deck is the fact that, oh well, my minions have low attack, but now you just put Dale in there, and now all of your minions are able to attack for like pretty much 3. You have Mulan that will now, you don't even need to do much to boost her attack. She'll be baseline 4/4 with that Dale, and it's that deck's so good. There's only 2 Dales in the deck usually. You don't need all 4 Dales, which is crazy to me. Just you still have that good consistency with Tramp to pull the cards you need, and I kind of wonder. I was like, wow, you can trim some of the classic Tramp cards at the beginning for the aggro element. Just really, really lean on the fact that you're going to have a really powerful combination of cards coming up. So, yeah, rotation in a few weeks. What do you think that? What would you use? What would you build in order to handle this in your local meta?
As far as local meta wise, I see a lot of people playing aggro and everything. So I think I'm gonna stick to my control plan, and I think I've pinned down a really good like blue-white control list though. It's very consistent, and on top of everything else, it's probably the most simplest control deck to actually run in the format. Now, it's not the best, granted though, but this is really good if you want to get into the control mindset though. So it's got ramp cards that'll get you there. It's got finishers there, definitely feasible after a board wipe, and it's got board wipes. I mean, you're running spooky sights, you're running hailstorms, and that clears every single threat on the board though. The thing that I would actually improve upon that is try to look for anything that's within amber or blue that might be coming up that hasn't been spoiled yet that would actually give me either more card draw or more board control. Board control is the number one name of the game when it comes to that deck, and you have to lean into it really heavily.
I'm going to be looking at a different direction, being able to interact with cards they don't want me to interact with. I think Amethyst is a great counter. You also have the Dales, and then with a 5/5 rush for 5 that exerts an enemy character with that Elsa, you're able to quickly take out that Eleanor. So sure, they will get it out a little bit earlier, but you know what? They get out the Eleanor, and then if you're turn 1, you could follow up with a great. Now I'm going to put down my Elsa, exert your Eleanor, and rush right into it. It's going to be removed if you have a Dale down. So that's one thing that this deck is missing, thankfully, is being able to interact other than hand manipulation with Mowgli and Ursula. But all in all, you're kind of sitting back and going, oh, wow, I am going to make my opponent have to deal with me. I guess you still have turn 4 traps. I don't think you can regularly try to hit the turn 3 traps as consistently. And also, I mean, you don't have the Daisy Ducks anymore in this list because you want to be turning more characters sideways for Eleanor, and you don't want to necessarily always give them that card. So I think that gives you some interesting opportunities to kind of slice into her. But again, we have 3 weeks, max 2 weeks, really what I'm looking at to see this deck be completely redone, and hoping for some good reprints for some fun control elements and some nice aggro elements. I don't want all the aggro to go away, and I think toys are going to be good for aggro, but I'm not sure if it has some of the big cards like Lilo or some of the other, older set cards to kind of give it that sustain that aggro will lose with just toys. And that I don't think that Babyhead's going to be able to turn around toys in order to make it do everything you need to do, because I believe that people will be able to play around it.
Yeah, the number one thing that I'm looking forward to as far as like the sets rotating out is just brand new decks that are being on the breakout though. Based on old archetypes and just using color combinations that probably haven't seen prominence though. The one color combination I'm looking forward to as far as like being like a bigger threat on the board as far as like in the meta, Blue Sapphire. When you took me to my first a pre-release, I was obsessed with Blue Sapphire because I just wanted to build blue bots like crazy. But I come to find out over the next few weeks when I got more into the game and started playing matches, I'm like, oh, this is missing this. This is missing that. It does have removal, but it doesn't have a follow-up. And if there is a follow-up, no, no, if there's a removal, there needs to always be a follow-up whenever it comes to it, though, because you can't systematically eliminate characters on the board and then just leave it blank, though, because you got to constantly keep at it, though. That's one of the key
Well,
elements.
there are some interesting spoilers that I've seen for Steel is going to get some more robots. So I don't know. Maybe Steel Sapphire will be a thing next rotation, next set, and I think that it'll probably be a mid range deck, which I know is not necessarily your immediate play style, but could be very 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 powerful. But let's move on. So we're having fun, but we also talked about how you have to kind of take care of yourself during tournaments last chat, and this time around there has been another instance of cheating that's occurred in Indianapolis. Someone had cards in their deck list that was not printed, turned in for judges. So when a judge reviewed their deck list and they said, "Oh, you do not have this card," Ravensburger said, "Hey, you know what? You're out. Everyone who you played against automatically gets a win." But cheating has been so common, and the person who did this has been banned from Magic the Gathering and banned from, I think he played Yu-Gi-Oh as well. And I think for this exact same thing where, you turn in deck list at the beginning of a tournament and then, you show judges, "Oh, this is my deck." And then before the first match was played, he would go in there and switch out a card from his deck. That, in my mind, that is not a oops, I grabbed the wrong card. Lorcana doesn't have sideboards. You're not supposed to tune your deck against whoever you're facing against. So that, be switching out cards just to play, to have a better matchup against someone. It's good that he was caught, but he wasn't caught to round 3. And if he wasn't caught at all, I'm sure that he didn't do particularly super well, but I'm sure that he would have really tilted the field on how everyone was doing. So you're well versed in all of the Magic tournament shenanigans. What do you think about is Ravenberger being too soft, or what? Because this is a fledgling scene and slowly growing, maybe a soft hand at the beginning is best.
No, I totally agree with the people that think that need to basically start banning players for cheating. 100% though. Cheating has destroyed a lot of games as far as like it sours the experience for everybody else. And on top of everything else, though, I think the most utmost severe punishment must be administered for those people, if not to make an example, but also to let people know, just don't do that. It's all around a bad experience. Now, personally, it hasn't happened against me though, but I've seen a lot of my friends during the scene. They face up against pro Magic players though, and they will try their damnedest to basically edge out an extra life point or an extra card or an extra land drop or anything for that matter though. You got to keep a track of your opponents though. I don't want to stress people out, just by telling them this though. But when you're playing at the high competitive level like this, you got to make sure that you're not only thinking about what you're going to do, you have to also think about what your opponent's doing. And you got to keep a log inside of your head. Now, here's a tip to do this. In order to save yourself a lot of time and boggling around, though, always think about your strategy and what you're going to do, next steps, though, and then do a small little flow chart in your head, though, while your opponent is trying to contemplate it on their side. You got to catch these people while they're doing it, though. You have to stop. Now, a lot of people, they're not very confrontational, or for that matter, they don't like to, just basically cause a stink about stuff, though. But just be that guy, be that person, be that individual. That will be like, let me call a judge. And don't just jump over to the table and just say you did this and stuff like that. No, that's what judges are for. Go to the side, talk to the judge. They'll look at the situation. They'll assess from there. That's what their job is, though. You got to make the judges, see what's going on the ground level, though, whatsoever. 100%. Enforcement starts at the player level. 100%. If you see something, definitely say something.
early on, and this was set 6, I believe. Lorcana had very inexperienced judges, and the judges let a lot of things go that became into that made the cheating even worse now than it was before. Judges would see someone who would accidentally double ink in a turn, accidentally. Say, best case. I'm not there. And because the old way that people would ink they would just flash the card and then put the card face down in the inkwell, which in league nights, the proper thing to do generally is to keep the card up until the end of your turn, so people can keep track. Oh yeah, did you ink or not? I'm very, very glad that Ravensburger's changed the rules so that way it's now more obvious. You're supposed to keep that. Now that was official ruling that you keep your card face up in your inkwell until the end of your turn. Then you can flip it over, and it gives time for your opponent to look at what was the card that you inked again, because the timing on how long can your opponent read that card, and if they forget after you show them once, before the end of your turn, you have to show them again. That wasn't always clear, and it came down sometimes to a specific judge to say oh well, this is how we're going to treat this. So players would have inconsistent experiences. And again, one more instance is really I don't want to say harming the community, but it's frustrating the community, and Ravenberger has to step up. I know Commander has had a tumultuous history in Magic. Has any other formats had in Magic had these type of growing pains where WotC, Wizards of the Coast, had to learn, take it on the nose of maybe we're going the wrong direction on this, and had to really pivot?
Yeah. As far as cheating goes, though, I know it's a very controversial subject, though, and the people have offered a lot of solutions. For instance, it's well, why don't we just do everything electronic? You can't do that. You can't do online formats and big tournaments on this, though. And on top of everything else, it's not an esport. I'm sorry to say it. No matter how hard people in this day and age try to push card games to be an esport, it's not an esport. You know why? Because you're playing with cards. And let me tell you this. It's a lot more different playing in person with the cards. It just hits a little bit different than if you just play it online. Online, you're just basically running an algorithm or a pattern form or a flow chart. That's what it basically boils down to, though. In order to get the real feel of the game, though, you got to show up in person. You got to do that. So, how do you regulate that? Well, you have judges, and if you have judges that actually do their jobs, then everybody feels oh, I actually have a chance. The key point to these card games, though, it should be the fact that anybody can make it to the top, regardless of it. And it's based on pure chance. You have to bring that element into it. If you start seeing the same eight people winning all these professional tournaments, though, it begs the question, then it puts a little asterisk next to their name. It's well, if they were caught cheating before, but they topped 8, then it carries that stigma. Did you really get there for that real reason? Well, in order to squash that out, though, you have to start enforcing the rules. You have to be hard with it. I'm sorry to say that, but it's necessary.
No, I completely agree. Absolutely. One of the things I hope that we see out of Indianapolis is Ravensburger really taking their tournament investment seriously, so that way we see a lot of people really grow with the scene. And I saw a lot of younger kids and a lot of new people actually showing up to the side events in Indianapolis, which was great. And very sad story too of something that you've warned about. Don't leave your stuff out of sight. Someone went to the restroom, asked someone to watch it, came back, and their deck was gone, and he had to forfeit the rest of the tournament.
Wow.
As a worst feeling.
That's not good. No.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna start. I got a business idea. I'm just being a little bit silly here, though, but I think there needs to be a service out there, and I think somebody should build it to where basically you should have somebody sit at your table and watch your stuff for you while you go do stuff.
Hotter take easier than that. Locker rentals in a tournament show floor. Get a little bit of space of the tournament floor and say hey, you know what? We brought these lockers. People can lock their stuff up. Set your codes. $5 for, an hour. So if someone needs to go to the bathroom, someone's hit lunch, they don't want to carry around their stuff. They want to carry their things from table to table. They just have a locker. They go in there, they put it in there, walk away. Easy peasy.
Too many moving parts though. I think I'd rather just have the person sit there.
Have a bouncer. Yeah.
Yeah, you need deck. Everybody needs a deck bouncer. I'm either the deck bouncer or my friend's a deck bouncer. That's it. So if you take any advice whatsoever though, especially when you go to these big events though, have a deck bouncer or a deck bouncer buddy.
All right. All right. Well, now if you lose your deck and you'll have to rebuild all of your cards, how would you rebuild your cards? Would you get a couple of boxes and hope to get the cards you need, or will you go straight for singles?
Well, in that specific scenario, if you're talking about though, straight for singles. Because if you think about it, how many boxes do you need to break open in order to rebuild that deck though? If it comes from, on average, what, 7 or 8 sets? So that's 7 or 8 sets worth of boosters they're gonna open. And you could trade for them and all that dilly dally though. But when it comes to immediate replacement, no, you got to go straight to TCG player, build that card up, and just go. That's it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. There's a card I was wanting to play with before rotation last time with, actually, I don't think it was a rotation yet, but Moana Warlord, Imperial Warlord.
Okay.
It lets all of your characters challenge ready characters. I was going to have a whole challenge themed deck. It'd be really, really efficient for taking out dogs, but no one had any. Like they just weren't for sale. I don't know if all the people who got the Moana Warlords, it's not a valuable card. Just it was a card that no one wants, no one was interested in, and I don't think they print the the cards anymore. So it gets into a really, really tough situation where, hey, suppose I want to just finish out my set. For people who are looking just to end to end. Okay, I just want one copy of every card for a set. Do you think it's worth doing a combination of get a sealed box and then pepper in the singles that you're missing out of a box, or where do you think a good break even is?
Um. Wow, that is a good question. As far as like a break even though, so you're asking me that what's a better investment?
You could look at it from the investment standpoint, or at least from a collection standpoint of like, hey, you know what? I love the game. I want to get a full end-to-end collection.
Oh, then as far as that goes though, just basically go for broke, buy 2 boxes of it, and then just fill out the rest with singles though. I mean, that's the plan always though. If you're just collecting sets from end to end, then that's the perfect way to go. But
Okay.
But as far as like money wise though, if you just want to build decks or if you want to just basically purchase cards though, the cards are fairly inexpensive right now though. The non-iconic legendary ones though. So
Yeah. Interesting that you said 2 boxes. Why not just one booster box and then go for the rest singles? Because I think for right now, even for something as important for a deck as Mowgli. Mowgli's in a lot of decks. Dales are in a lot of decks. I think Dumbo is probably one of the most expensive cards. Or is it the but Dumbo is only $30 card. Do you think it's worth save on that other box and just save that $200, $150 and just go for another pack of singles? What do you think about that?
that is a very good suggestion though. But the reason why I do the booster box plan is you break one regardless of the fact of whatever you hit and stuff like that. If you feel really good about it though, then you don't have to break open the other one because you just use the other one for pack rush just in case.
That is a really smart idea. I didn't even think about hey, you know what? You don't have to open in that other box right now. Maybe you save it for as an investment. You save it for, oh, you know what? I'm going to hold on to this other box for me and my friends playing, and we can open this. Maybe if you want to open packs at the end of a podcast, that'd be really useful for that. So that's actually really clever for a good way to don't think about having to open it all at once. I don't have that level of self-control, so I'll never be able to do that. If the packs are here, I'm going to open them. But still, it's nice to think about that. That is a clever plan.
You want a suggestion?
Yeah, go ahead.
Get yourself a time save.
Oh, yeah. Set it for a month and say okay, can't open this no matter what for a month when things start settling down.
Yeah, I had to do that actually a couple times though because back when I used to collect like heavily, I was like, okay, I should not open these three boxes right away though. My body's telling me yes, but my mind is telling me no. So what I did is that I left it in a storage locker with my friend, and I told him, regardless of whatever I say or do, in the next 2 months, do not let me near the, or don't let me know where the storage locker is though, so I could open it up.
Yeah, and that's it. Also, we're in a unique situation in Lorcana where we're actually seeing the price of cards go up. Historically, after a set release, we see a huge drop off in the price of cards as people get the cards they want, and they're not super as excited anymore. So I am I can see that. Okay, you know what? Let's yeah, go for cards that you want at the beginning, and then things can happen. So I guess Roy, you and I could just get a booster box because I think that's four display boxes, and yeah, it was a split 2 and 2.
Hmm.
I think
Okay.
it saves a few bucks too. I think like a booster box you can save like $10, $15 a box
Did
if
you
I remember
pre-order for the
right.
next set? I'm kind of curious about that.
I'm about to. I haven't done it yet.
I haven't
I
done
need
that
to. I'm
yet.
thinking about. Okay, we'll pre-order for Black Castle because Black Castle had a great party. They had cake. It was great. And
Oh,
rainbows and I know the other place was really sweaty, which was fun. I really enjoyed it, but I didn't get any face paint. I was kind of disappointed in that. No Mickey Mouse ears either.
I forgot that element of this game though. Like, I'm too much of a freaking sweat bro, like to actually realize that I forgot this game is actually for children.
It is for fun,
Yeah,
and I, sir, would also enjoy my face painted.
I don't know, but yeah, no, I get it, I get it though. But we could talk a little bit about pre-orders actually though. So I've gone through an adventure myself of trying to get pre-orders for the next set though, and it's extremely hard. So here's the story. I needed to pick up some boosters from Wilds of Unknown though, and I found this little shop that's literally 5 minutes away from me, and I found these packs. I found packs for $5 a piece though. You cannot find that anywhere. I checked the big box
Mm-mm.
stores. I checked Target all over the place though. They're saying 15 bucks, 17 bucks. I'm like, what's going on here? But I was kind of like disappointed because they didn't have any pre-orders left. So I'm like, oh, okay. So people were they just basically moved on to the next one. I haven't contacted Game Castle yet though, or Black Castle yet, so I don't know. We're gonna have to talk about that because I um definitely not only in real life though, but just to share with our viewers for pack openings though, we need to get our hands on at least one or two booster boxes at a reasonable price, mind you.
Yeah.
And that's the key element here though. Finding
But
the booster boxes at a reasonable price is ridiculous right now.
the Attack of the Vine are they're being sold by at MSRP by both places. So I know that it's still early enough. I mean, sans scalpers, and if anyone, Game Castle's going to hit the scalpers first. I think Black Castle's a little bit less known. So sans scalpers, us getting one sealed, 100% doable, and we would actually be able to probably. We've got a bit more time, and I have heard. I don't enough of these people have open sealed boxes where they would know better than me and they say no. But I've heard statistically you're more likely to get a unique collection of cards from a booster from a box than individual display boxes. So if you get four random display boxes, there might be a better chance of getting a good distribution of cards.
Hmm. Oh, most definitely.
It makes sense to me too. Now everyone's like, "Oh, I don't know. It's unlikely that other people haven't noticed it, but statistics and odds, and if they don't, I mean, like these most of the people I've spoken to again get entire sealed boxes. Like, oh yeah, okay, open all four booster boxes and go through, and I notice a bunch of duplicates, but they usually have pretty full collections at the end of that. So, oh no, okay, fun conversation either way, and I'm very curious to see how it ends. I've not, what? We will wait till next episode or maybe the episode after to talk about everything we know, what's coming for Attack of the Vine, and a possibly new booster packs type. But that's not going to be this week. And I think for this week, we have solved the meta. Do you have anything else you want to add, Roy, before we wrap this up?
Well, as far as the meta is involved, Infinity is not going to change for a while, though. In my experience, legacy formats really don't change. They just amend. And then if they amend enough, then they basically become another deck at that point. Core is going to come into like this big shuffle, literally, in the next few weeks. And just as a side note, if you go to duels.inc, you could actually test your new set 13 legal decks on there and check out how your deck actually stacks up against 3 to 4 weeks in the future when those remaining sets fall and the new set drops.
I love that. That sounds super, super fun just to kind of brainstorm. Hey, what feels good? What plays good? I know whatever. I'm going to be stuck with Dale. I just love playing with Dale right now. It's super fun. So
Dale's your guy, huh?
Yeah. Well, yeah. That or I might go back to Christmas green red because it's such a goofy color combination and there's a lot of removal in green red. But gosh, Dale, that everyone's attack is or strength is the same as their willpower. It's such a powerful thing in Lorcana just because of how back heavy everyone is. So we'll see what might come out of design from that. What might inspire me and maybe something fun will appear out of the new set and go, well, you know what? I was planning on this, but I'm going back to my Emerald. I just going to do Emperor's New Groove all the way and have a great time there.
Just make sure you don't pull the wrong lever.
All right. Well, let's open up a cold one to wrap this episode up.
Yeah.
Speaking of cold one, I still have a couple of winter spell packs because I was able to find them. So I will open up mine first, and who knows, that shop might have blessed you with the best packs possible. So
we'll see.
Might have some exciting things. Ooh. There we go. So first, let me just get a little bit closer. Mother's nose. Mother will protect you. I always want to say mother nose back. Darkwing duck. It's not a duck. It's a dog. Yow. Goofy. Cena. Stitch. Peakley. Miss Hops. Detective Hops. Chinpo. Darkwing's chair. Ooh, Bambi. I think that's going to be a pretty big next set for Emerald for people who aren't necessarily going to be playing aggro. Darkwing's gas device. Here it is. Ooh, that shine too. Okay. I got a fun shiny card. All right, Roy. What did you get this week? Yes, I know. The big missing packs that no one else can get.
$5 a pack, though. You know I had to buy it.
Oh,
buy a whole mess of it, though.
Goodness, yeah.
Okay, here we go. We go right here. Okay, and we got Mr. Incredible, Violet, Todd, Sleepy, Anna, Goslin, Woody, Little Card Advantage, Hand in the Box, and Maleficent. And we got John Smith and the Witch. All right, and that's it for that one.
I think it's time for us to call it a night. Thank you, Roy, for joining me, and thank you, everyone, for joining us. We had a great time talking about Indianapolis, and we're excited for spoiler season, all the new content coming out, and who knows, maybe a new deck will be given. We'll be inspired to build a new deck from all that's being released right now.
I sure hope so.
Well, after that cold one, I think we need to go off and start checking out all the new spoilers that's been revealed for the next set. We'll be talking about that very soon in an episode, maybe next week, week after.
All right, y'all. Thanks for joining us, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
Thank you all for coming to see us for another League Night. We appreciate it. We're going to hop off and watch some reveals for Attack of the Vine.